Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. Welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today, a recipe and a story, or a recipe and a bunch of stories. It's all going to go together. I'm going to start out. I've got a cup of boiling water, and I've got a tablespoon of Knox gelatin, or one packet of Knox gelatin, which is the equivalent of a tablespoon's worth. And I'm supposed to dissolve that into the hot water. That's where I'm going to start. Now, regular viewers of this channel know that on Wednesdays, Julie and I do a cocktail video. So on Wednesday of this week, we released a cocktail video called Fluffy Ruffles. I shoot all of those cocktail videos, the entire season, the entire year of 2023, all of the cocktail videos, 52 of them, were shot in the final week of November through December and the first couple of weeks of January of this year. So we started in 2022, finished in January 2023, shot all 52, edited them, set them up, and set them for release. And so I did the cocktail called Fluffy Ruffles. I just did it because it was a funny name. And I saw the same cocktail in a bunch of cocktail books from the early 1920s to the mid 1930s. It was pretty much a staple in all the cocktail books. I thought it was a funny name, so I went ahead and did it. No other reason than that. No other reason than that. And then, so if we go back to last summer, Julie and I took a trip with a bunch of our viewers to Mexico. One of the viewers on that trip is a guy named Jim. And so a couple of weeks ago, Jim sends us a cookbook, the Portland Women's Exchange Cookbook. Sends us his personal copy with a note saying, here it is. I think it's a great cookbook. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for sending it to us. And I did really enjoy it. And I looked through it, and I looked through it, and I looked through it, and I'm, fascinated by a lot of the recipes. And so as I'm flipping through the book, I come across a recipe called Fluffy Ruffles. And I thought, oh, Fluffy Ruffles. There must be a bigger story to Fluffy Ruffles. So this cookbook, originally published in 1913, this is a reprint from 1973 that Jim sent me. The second thing that came to my mind as I'm flipping through this, it's like, there's something really familiar about this book. And so something that I sadly need to address in my life is that I have a lot of cookbooks. I own a lot of cookbooks. And a lot of cookbooks I've purchased just come in boxes from estate sales, or friends and family contact me and say, we know you collect cookbooks. We've got this book of cookbooks, this box of cookbooks that we had in the attic. Would you like them? And I often take the boxes and I give them a quick run through, put all the books back in the box, and then stick the box somewhere because I don't have space. I don't have shelving space to keep everything. This book twigged something in the back of my brain, and I spent 2 weeks going through boxes, and I came up with an original copy of the Portland's Women's Exchange Cookbook. I'm going to send this one back to you, Jim. I thank you so much for sending it to me, but I can tell that this is a well-loved cookbook, and you've marked out a bunch of recipes inside. So I'm going to send this back to you with many thanks for sending it to us. The interesting thing about this book, the reprint, is that in the foreword, it gives a lot of information about why this cookbook came into being in Portland. It is a community cookbook. It is filled with recipes. Every recipe is from someone who lived in Portland, and it has a really wide gamut of recipes, much wider in terms of styles and regions of the world where the recipes come from. Much wider than any other community cookbook I think I've come across to this point. Who knows? There's probably more of them in those boxes that I don't know about. I really need to sit down with a spreadsheet and and put it into a searchable database. It's just such a daunting task. Anyway, I start researching Fluffy Ruffles, but we should get back to the recipe for a moment. So I've got 4 egg whites here. This recipe doesn't use the egg yolks. I'm going to use them in something else. I've got a cup of boiling water. Freshly boiled water. It was super hot when I put the gelatin in. I've got a cup of sugar. The recipe says I could use sugar or syrup. In that goes. This just all goes into a mixing bowl. I'm supposed to put in some vanilla. And then I put in the hot water and the gelatin And I'm going to use a stand mixer. Because I have a stand mixer. Now the recipe says to beat with an egg beater until thick. So we come back to Fluffy Ruffles. This book published in 1913. Fluffy Ruffles was a comic strip in American newspapers in 1907 and 1908. Followed the adventures of a young woman called Fluffy Ruffles. And everything that I've read about it says that, you know, it was the viral sensation of 1907, 1908, and carried forward a few years after that as well. The legacy carried on. If you think about today, something goes viral on TikTok for like 5 minutes, and then it's gone, and then the next thing comes along, you know? The guy on the skateboard drinking, what was he drinking? Cranberry juice. And then there's an orangutan that's riding around in a golf cart. Those sorts of things, they come and go really quickly. 1907, 1908, viral was a lot longer. And from what I've read, this comic strip, Fluffy Ruffles, really hit a chord in the United States in this time period. And it spawned a whole lot of products, and it spawned a whole lot of recipes and cocktails and so on and so forth. And these cocktails and recipes hung on long after the comic strip had gone away. And I guess the question is, how thick is thick? As I'm making this, it strikes me very much as kind of a simplified marshmallow. It's certainly not going to get as, I don't think, as hard or as sticky as marshmallow would, because if I was making this as a marshmallow, I would have turned the sugar into a hot syrup and poured it in slowly as I was whipping the egg whites and the gelatin together. Putting the sugar in cold isn't going to have that same effect. I'm going to say that's thick. Let's call that thick. Yeah, it's pretty thick. So now it says to put it into a mold and serve it later with whipped cream. I'm just gonna leave it in this container. I'm not gonna transfer it. I'm gonna leave it in this container. The recipe doesn't say anything about chilling it. A lot of the other recipes in the pudding section, or the section that this is from, say to put it on ice before serving. So I assume that you can just leave this at room temperature. I am very tempted to lick the beater. But I am also very tempted to put it in the fridge because I think it would work really well as a cool dessert, cool or cold dessert. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a fluffy marshmallow. It's a much less sticky, fluffy marshmallow. Okay, so before I make myself sick from eating too much sugar before the tasting, I'm going to put a cover on this. And I am going to stick it in the fridge, let it chill down for about an hour, and we'll come back and we'll do a tasting. Oh.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Jules.
Hey, friends. You said we were having Fluffy Ruffles. Where's the drink? Where's the drink? Where's the drink?
It is not the Fluffy Ruffles cocktail. It is...
It's fluffy.
It is... Oh,
You're saying it's not a drink.
look at that.
Is it like just a giant thing of meringue?
Well...
It has that kind of look. Or whipped cream?
Wait, there's whipped... I gotta put...
Oh, we get whipped cream on top.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Okay, so... As I was making this, it is essentially a marshmallow. It has all of the marshmallow...
Totally looks like a marshmallow.
Has all of the marshmallow ingredients, except you don't heat the sugar into a syrup and pour it in.
Yeah, it's pretty sticky.
Yeah. Okay. So, it says whipped cream on top. So,
So we're having whipped cream covered marshmallow?
whipped cream covered marshmallow.
Or in this case, Fluffy Ruffles?
Okay, I don't think it needs whipped cream.
So I'm kind of surprised that knowing that they instruct you to put whipped cream on top, that they didn't instruct you to put like some bright jello, not jello, but like a green colored. Okay, I ate the whipped cream first.
It's like a super light.
That just melts in your
marshmallow.
mouth.
Yeah.
That totally. In fact, oddly, the whipped cream is more dense than the fluffy
And the fluffy
fluffy
ruffle.
ruffle.
Okay, this is.
I can see it going really well with a little bit of fruit as well in the spring.
A little
Now
compote
that
on
it's
top
spring?
with some strawberries on it. Wouldn't that be amazing?
There's a lot of fun stuff with this. I'm actually oddly enjoying this very fluffy, light flavored thing. Oh, it's from Jim's book. Thanks, Jim. I'm enjoying this.
Yes, this is fantastic. Okay, so we met Jim on the trip to Mexico. Thanks for coming to Mexico. Thanks everyone who came to Mexico. We had a great time. October 2023, so October of this year,
Yes, later this year.
we have a trip going to Japan. We're going to Tokyo and Osaka. 20 people coming with us. There are 2 spots left.
So if you can join us, come along.
That would be fantastic if you can join us. I'll put the link down below to the itinerary and how you sign up and all the information. We'd love to see you in Japan.
And then on a completely different note, Jim mentioned which one was his favorite recipe. Is this it?
No,
Okay.
no, I'll get to that. I chose Fluffy Ruffle because we did that
we did
cocktail.
that drink.
We did that cocktail. I was like, oh,
That's what I was expecting the cocktail.
this is very sweet though.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you can have.
I think by the time I get to the end of this, I don't think I could eat anymore.
You would need to partner it with like a raspberry or something like a tart fruit.
Yeah.
But mine is gone.
And if you're someone who is afraid of raw eggs, yes, this is raw eggs, you can buy cartons of pasteurized egg white at the grocery store. And you could use that in this. So the pasteurization process would make this cooked in a way. I have no problem with raw eggs.
Yeah, clearly. I think they know that.
Thanks for stopping by.
See you again soon. This mouth's still full.